Welcome to the Queer Witch Project, your resource for all things queer and witchy. I am Damona Peacock, your fabulous, non-binary, neurospicy, ordained queerdo with a fascination for symbolism, cycles, and patterns.
And I'm Moonkittee, a queer femme poly kitchen witch and a proud geek. Today's topic is Kitchen Witchery, Fall Edition, Potion Power!
Potion power! Okay, so here we are into our second season of the, Northern Hemisphere year.
Wheel of
And
Vegas.
we're revisiting a topic that we did early on in the summer of kitchen witchery. And you are my kitchen witch resource.
At least easily accessible kitchen witch.
You are the most easily accessible kitchen witch I have. Yes.
Yes.
And you know that I like to learn from listening and doing and not always reading. Because
yes, I'm the same way.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely understand that.
So when we were wondering what kitchen witchy stuff we would get up to in the fall, we thought about potions. So what is a potion, Shay?
So a potion, for me anyway, and again, your mileage may vary. Everyone does things different. I don't want to throw those caveats out there, but they are real because again, I say something, this is what works for me. It may work differently for someone else. But for me, the idea of a potion, it's a mixture of liquids used for an intent. Meaning it's a combination of more than one kind of thing that you put together and you imbibe it. So a potion is something you would drink. It's something that you're going to or bathe in or somehow get it to soak into you, either through imbibing it or through your skin or something like that. So to me, that's more of a potion.
Maybe even scent.
Right. Well, scent in a different way. If you're doing scent, it's different than like a fragrance or like a perfume or something else where you get that kind of scent. It would be more, again, having a liquid base that would be imbued. So if you're doing I guess a potion could be kind of that. If you got it liquid and it's aerosoled and you walk through it, it's absorbing through your skin. So I guess that could kind of technically be a potion.
I keep thinking of all these little things that could be potions.
Exactly. To me, I wouldn't necessarily consider fragrance a potion just because it's a one thing. You are taking, I guess the chemicals and the ingredients are being mixed up. So someone else made that. But for me, the magic is not in what someone else made. It's what I made in myself. Or what I'm making myself. For me, the idea of a perfume is, yes, it's a multiple ingredients into a liquid substrate, but it is not designed for intent.
Yeah.
And it's mass marketed. So it will be something that multiple people will use it. So it's not really a specific focus for it. Whereas to me, a potion is more a liquid that's mixed for a specific purpose. So the purpose may be to smell good, but it's not for you specifically. It's more of a generic kind of thing. But that is really fascinating. And I did not even think about that until you said that. And like going, oh crap, is it? Technically, but not really, at least not the way I would interpret it.
Of like, potion bottles and
yes,
and, making the mistake of I smell everything before I imbibe it.
That's
what I do.
Not a bad habit to get into, especially if you're not sure where it came from. Smelling it before you drink it, definitely a good thing that I would recommend.
even like a cocktail, which is like, am I gonna like this? Right. Okay, I'll try it.
I know the problem, cocktails can get sneaky because sometimes you don't know what's in them. But we'll talk a little bit about a cocktail recipe later for my potion.
So then a mixture of liquids used for an intent, then what do you mean by potion power?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question with a question. What is the first super liquidy, drinkable kind of thing you think of when you think of fall? Think stereotypical.
Oh, well, the first thing that I see people posting about when it comes to fall is like, it's PSL season, pumpkin spice latte.
Exactly.
Your spicy drinks.
And that's one thing. Now, I'm going to throw out the thing that the potential for a pumpkin spice latte, especially if you make it yourself, that's a potion.
Yeah. I mean, we did talk about how all of the different plants and seasons have energy or vibration meaning
Mhm.
behind it.
Right. So, like for example, pumpkin spice. So the pumpkin spice latte does not generally have pumpkin in it. It's the pumpkin spice, right? Which you goes
It's what
into a
you put in
pumpkin
like the pumpkin
spy
pie.
and everything else. So the idea of pumpkin spice is generally cinnamon, ginger, allspice, cloves, and nutmeg. Now, cinnamon is a highly used, constantly over and over spellcrafting ingredient because what
Yes.
cinnamon does is it actually connects the planes. It connects your emotional plane, your astral plane, and your physical plane, and it helps break the magical boundaries across all different planes. So it focuses on multiple different levels.
Huh.
Now, ginger has kind of that healing energy and that kind of protection, which if you're going into fall, you're going into winter, you're going to want some of that extra healing, immune boosting energy to kind of help boost that immune system, make sure that you make it through the winter season okay. Allspice is more of a spice that's used for increasing power. So it's amplifying all the other ingredients of the cinnamon, of the ginger.
Like
Cloves
the zero
are
in numerology, the
exactly, it's the
lens.
amplifier.
Hmm.
Cloves are protection. So again, protecting from the cold in the winter months that are happening, and also a little bit of cleansing. So getting rid of fall is about letting go of the things that aren't
Yes.
serving you so you can grow into the next thing. And nutmeg helps heighten that spiritual connection. So it's really a matter of, are you drinking this with intent or are you making this with intent? So you can make this yourself and really put all those things into it with intent. But I would also argue that if you just want to go to your favorite cafe and have it made, if you are drinking it with intent, that intention that you are putting into it, especially if you put your hands over and focus some energy in it, you are actually turning that into a potion that is going to be helpful for you.
That is a powerful potion between that and the, you know,
I know.
caffeine and the
Exactly.
wake you up.
Yeah, and then of course there's the coffee beans if you're doing a coffee version of it, which again has that
Yeah.
caffeine and that additional energy in there. There's the milk and the creaminess that also kind of helps smooth and soften things and bring it and kind of acts as a base to bring things through. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into it. So yeah, it's one of those things that we kind of joke around. It's like, oh my god, and roll our eyes. It's pumpkin spice season again.
Let
It's
the
the
people
fall.
have their pumpkin spice.
Exactly. Let the
Let the
people have their
witches
pumpkin
have their
spice.
pumpkin spice. That's so,
If you enjoy it, then drink it and give the flying finger to anyone who tries to tell you you're not doing something you don't want to do right.
I love that intentional imbibing of a potion
Mm-hmm.
for its, the vibrations of bringing
Mm-hmm.
in that power.
Right.
That,
And again, you don't have to do this. So if you're doing something else made by someone else, you're not going to making it's that intention. So whether you're
yeah,
doing it focus, if you just want to have a pumpkin spice latte and enjoy it or any other drink and just make it enjoy it for what it is, that's totally fine too. It's about that magical intent is what you are putting into it and the awareness and the focus that you are doing when you're drinking it. That's what makes ultimately that's that final ingredient in a potion is intention.
and that alchemical reaction of digesting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things nourishing your body, feeding it through. The warmth, that's that byproduct of the warmth spreading out through your body itself, warming you up if it's a hot drink, and also just the feeling that sensory awareness of taking something and sipping something that's delicious that causes
Hmm.
sensory memory and also helps relax you and makes it easier for you to focus on something else. That caffeine boost gives help for focus. There's lots of other things that kind
I
of go
love that
around with
you
it.
bring that up because once the fall temperatures really set in, I get back into the habit, and I don't do this year round, but like once it starts to get cold in the mornings, I love waking up with some hot tea, and it's usually
Mm-hmm.
herbal tea.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is 100% spearmint. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and aside from that, any kind of mint, but spearmint's like big time my
Mm-hmm.
favorite. And with and kind of making a ritual out of
Mm-hmm.
making it and warming it and seeping it. And I like honey in it, so I also take in, the I do really think about the magical properties of honey and how it's come into
Mm-hmm.
being and how grateful we are for the bees and the pollinators and,
Yes.
you know, and to the being in our life. And then I imbibe my tea, and it can be like a morning routine of meditation that I enjoy, and I don't realize I miss it until it starts to be cool enough for me to want to drink that. And in a way,
Right.
I guess that would be kind of like a potion.
Hmm. And there is a whole magic in tea,
I'm sure
that we will probably need to do in a full other episode. And I can think of a couple people we can reach out to that would really focus on that, because
that's their
there's
expertise.
that's their expertise. But yes, but no, it's there. Tea magic is, it's this crazy
I love that.
rabbit hole thing that is something different. But again, on the highest level of that statement is, yes, it is that intent, that warmth. And I also often will start my day with tea, and then sometimes I'll even end it. um Side note, that was one of the things that when I first started therapy, my
Oh,
therapist was, I was trying to kind of going through, it's like trying to find out what's boundaries and what do I need. And they're all, just take 5-10 minutes for yourself at any point in time, whether you have a glass of wine, whether you make a cup of tea, whether you do just have a glass of water, or just sit outside and just take 5 minutes and just be in yourself. And I would take that as making tea in the evenings. And it was just, again, an herbal tea, and just to sit there, that process of just letting the water boil, and knowing that the water is just boiling, and I'm just taking this time. I'm going to let the water boil. I'm going to let it steep, and I'm just going to
mm.
sit here on the couch, or I'm going to sit here and just be in this moment. No distractions, no TV, anything else, and just sip that tea and find that place in myself. Helped me progress onto being able to
Listen to
do the other
yourself.
work that you need to do
Yeah.
with therapy.
Yep.
But that five
Yeah.
minute ritual of just taking that time for yourself just grounds you, ultimately just grounds you back into what you need to do to give you the focus and drive to be able to
I
do the
will
other
say
stuff.
a warm drink grounds me into my body too, because I can feel it going down. I don't know if other
Hmm.
people do this or not, but I mean, not obviously scorching hot, but just like
Hmm.
having a nice, warm, relaxing feeling, warm from the inside and the outside moment
Yes,
to
absolutely.
defrost.
And to feel the warmth of the mug in your hands as you're cradling
Oh,
it, and
100%.
all of that kind of stuff is just, it's its own kind of magic. And with the essence of kitchen witchery is finding the magic around you in the day to day, in that mundane aspects of yourself. It's not high magic, it's not formal magic, it's the little bits, that those
Mm,
little bits and moments of time. If you,
that's present all the time.
yeah, if you can be present in it, sit with it and feel it, that is its own kind of magic.
So, speaking of magic, like how can a potion be useful in kitchen witchery?
It's a really great vehicle if you want something quick. Because again, it doesn't take long to drink. Now, it may take long to make, depending on the nature and how complicated your potion is, whether it requires you to steep things for days on end, or
Mm.
use water collected at a moon cycle or something else along those lines. It may take lots of different things that may take time to brew,
So
but
is
the
moon
actual aspect of it, it's fast. Once it's all made, the potion itself is easy to take, easy to ingest, and
uh-huh.
usually will work quickly.
So is moon water a potion?
It's an ingredient of a potion.
Oh,
I
okay.
would not consider moon water itself a potion, but it could be an aspect of it, because your moon water is a single thing, right? It's water that's
Right.
left out to absorb the energy of the moon in its various phases. So that's a single thing. Now, if you want to take and drink that because you want to take in the energy of that particular phase, that
Mm.
you're adding the intention to make it a
Mhm.
potion. But as it stands on its own, it's an ingredient, usually mixed with other ingredients to create a full potion.
Which can be blessed and imbibed with
Hmm.
energies of this, that, or the other thing,
Exactly.
and would add that element of that to as a base for your potion.
Hmm.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
again, yeah, I don't think of it as a specific thing, but again, it's all up for interpretation. But for me, it would be an ingredient rather than an actual.
What about simmer pots? Like when you
Hmm.
instead of or a humidifier, but like even just when you make a simmer pot on the stove to humidify your dwelling.
Yes, simmer pots are great. That's another really great aspect of a type of um it's a different type of kitchen magic in that sense. Again, simmer pots, like you said, you put various ingredients in a pot and put it on a low heat, and it doesn't boil. It just kind of simmers there and releases those aromatics into the air. So now you're getting the benefits of smelling and that kind of sensory input that comes with the smelling, but also because you again are putting multiple things into a pot, depending on the magical properties of those things that you are building, you can absolutely use that as a potion.
I can
Now,
just see a fall like fruits and spices going into
mhm,
a simmer pot, like apples and
yes,
oranges and
cloves and
cinnamon,
cinnamon. Star anise is another good
maybe
one I
some of
throw in
your,
my simmer
oh
pot.
yeah, and some of your pumpkin spice,
Yes, yeah,
and
all
maybe
those
even
different
some
ingredients.
pumpkin. I don't know. I don't know if I put
You
pumpkin
could,
in
it
there.
would be a little, it would get a little mushy if you threw some pumpkin chunks in there. Um, but I think the main difference with the simmer pot is there you're imbibing it in a different way. You're imbibing
hmm
it through smell.
hmm
It's still being ingested into your body, but it's being ingested through smell because you're not going to drink the simmer pot
Right.
at the end.
You're just gonna
It's
let it fill your home space
right. It
with
fills
its
your space.
magic, its humidity to help
Mhm,
warm your space up. I used to use it as
exactly.
a, and also like central heat can be very drying.
Yes.
So I do like to have some kind of humidifying and sometimes just a simmer pot on the
Mhm.
stove does the trick.
Yes. And you can get similar with a humidifying. If you have a humidifier using essential oils, it's slightly different. But again, if you're using a combination of oils, the water vapor from the humidifier can mix with them and can be potion adjacent if you want to think
Interesting.
of it that way.
Yeah.
Because again, you're using separate ingredients. Things that are blend are usually distilled, or
With
even if you're using a
intention.
single, it's done with intention. It's making it out. And again, you are imbibing it. In this case, you're just imbibing it through breathing rather than being other. Another good one is like I used to take tea baths. Again, going back to the
Oh
magic of
yeah.
tea. But if you have you can make little
Even spiritual baths.
spiritual baths,
Yeah.
cleansing. That's
hmm
I would consider that not really a potion if you're taking a spiritual bath and letting the water cleanse you down. But if you're taking like a solid bath where you're putting in tea elements, or you're putting in essential oils, and you're putting in flowers, or you're putting in different ingredients, maybe levels of Epsom salts and
Just
lavender or
soaking
rose,
it in.
and soaking it. Your body is again soaking in that, drawing it into your skin and taking the nourishing aspects of it there. Again, you're not hopefully not drinking your bath water, but you are
I'm having a me potion.
exactly. Your body is, in this case, you're potioning your body. You're giving
No.
yourself and your
Yeah.
body the skin you are in over this meat sack rather than outside in rather than inside out. But it's
Yes.
still,
Yes.
I would still consider that an aspect of a potion making.
Is there a such thing as a queer potion?
Well, I'm of the firm belief that if you are queer and you are making a potion, your potion is queer.
Oh,
But
fair. Is now. Woo!
is now, is there something that's inherently queer, or is there an inherently queer potion that's just for queer people? I don't know. Um, but again, it's about intention. So, what is your intention? Are you taking ingredients like that are about transformation and change, and
hmm
pairing them with being
Empowerment.
empowerment, and pairing that with breaking of boundaries to
Mm.
be able to step outside of yourself? Are you putting that with maybe new moon water about the water energy of change, um, and putting those things together that could form a queer potion itself? So it's really about, again, what are you putting into it, and what is your intention of coming out of it, to make it queer or not? And again, having just the queer magic energy, because you are who you are. And if you are inherently queer, you're going to attract inherently queer magic. So, yes, that is going to make potions of some sort also slightly inherently queer, which is really fun when you're throwing queer parties and throwing them out to your friends, and you have some straight friends who are drinking things going, I don't know. I have definitely been at several parties where friends have realized they may be a little bit less straight than they thought they were. They're not quite bi, they're not quite everything else, but suddenly they are a little bit more flexible.
Well, there's a certain kind
than
of
they
potion.
might have.
There's a certain kind of potion that can elicit some lowered inhibitions.
Exactly. And yes, alcohol tends to do that.
Parties, us witches tend to like to celebrate the harvests, and even the less attuned or more mundane overculture. We have our Halloween parties, or our rituals, ritual drinks. I was thinking, what kind of magical intentional potions, drink offerings could we bring and or make or create for those kind of settings?
Yeah, no, I have a couple of them. And again, I'll put the links below in there, but I have one that I have a spiked version and I have a non-spiked. And actually I have the non-spiked with me right here as I am sipping on it as we are doing this particular episode. But no, the spiked version, this is actually funny. The funny story behind this one is I kind of saw it and I kind of made it up back when I was still in the broom closet. So I was not out magically, but it was just one of those things that I just knew I needed to make. It was kind of an instinctive kind of thing. And then as I started coming out and started realizing what goes into it and seeing the ingredients and putting the properties of the ingredients and how that all work together, I just started laughing. It's one of those you understand after the fact, or after the period of time, what the effects were, even if you had no instinctive knowledge, or you were doing it purely instinctively and had no knowledge of what you were doing beforehand. So
I've been there.
Yeah, it's as witches, it's really fun when you look back and go, oh, that's why that happened.
Oh, I kind of knew that before I knew that. Wow.
Right. Yes. So I'm calling it the Meow at the Moon apple cider. At the time I called it the Howl at the Moon apple cider, but I am a moon kitty versus a moon puppy. So I have changed it to the Meow at the Moon. So meow. And basically it's a pretty straightforward. I would make this in big batches. So I'd make it in a crock pot. Again, I made it for parties. So it would be something that's really, really big, makes a lot, but I kind of condensed the recipe down. So you don't necessarily have to make it in a crock pot for 20 people. You can make it for maybe 2. I don't know how to make it smaller than 2, but you can definitely make it and share it with a friend, or just have a couple glasses because it's all good too. And basically it's pretty straightforward ingredients. It's apple cider, it's dark rum, it's light rum, it's either butterscotch schnapps or caramel syrup, brandy, cinnamon, and a fresh apple slice for garnish. So you kind of, essentially what I would do is I would throw all the ingredients in a pot and let it go. Now, as I've been kind of tweaking this over the years and making this more of an intentional potion versus kind of a more generalized cocktail at a party, it's really more about, again, focus and intention. So what I would say in this case is take 2 cups of apple cider, and you want to simmer it till it's hot but not boiling. So again, you don't want things to boil because boiling tends to overheat it and leach out what you're trying to keep in. So bring it to that point where it's simmering and it's hot, but it's not boiling. And from that, you would add 1 ounce of dark rum, 1 ounce of light rum, and 1 ounce of butterscotch schnapps or 2 tablespoons of caramel syrup. So equal parts light rum, dark rum, caramel syrup, or butterscotch schnapps or caramel syrup. And again, I add those 2 interchangeably, depending. Some people like butterscotch more, some people like caramel more. If you want to cut down the alcohol, cut the butterscotch out and add the caramel, but you really want that kind of sweetness. You want that caramelly,
candy-ish,
coat your tongue sweetness that gets added into it. And from there, you'll add a 1/2 ounce of brandy. So if I'm referring to each of these ounces being a shot glass. So a shot of dark rum, a shot of light rum, a shot of butterscotch schnapps, a 1/2 shot of brandy, and then stir it with a cinnamon stick. Or if you don't have a cinnamon stick handy, you could add like a 1/2 teaspoon, just the tiniest little bit of cinnamon, and sprinkle it on top. And then you add those all in, and you want to simmer it 2 minutes more. Now you can let it go longer, but if you're taking the adult version of this, the alcohol will eventually simmer off. So if you want to let it go and have the first shot where you got kind of the effects, the relaxing effects of the alcohol, You don't want to simmer it more than about 2 more minutes, because then it's just going to condense the flavors, but not necessarily boil them out. So you'll still get the warmth and the energy of it, of that alcohol and that kick that alcohol gives you, but also if you let it go longer, you're gonna get the flavor. It's just not gonna have the kick.
Warmed from the inside out.
Exactly. And then I tend to garnish that with an apple slice, because as we know, cut the apple in half, you've got the 5-pointed star. So you kind of, again, magic and intention. So you can cut that. I would cut it horizontally so you can get that star, slice it and put it on the edge. And then ultimately, that's kind of what it is. So it's easy to do, easy to serve. And ultimately, here's what the ingredients come together as. So you've got the apple cider. So your apple is a base. And we've talked about in past episodes how apple is the core of magic. It is the 5-point star. It is that vitality. It is that energy of that apple a day keeps the doctor away, kind of really aspect of magic and kind of keeping things going. So that's harvest magic. It's that focus. It's that base. It's where you want to start. You want to start from that apple.
Apples. And
then you've got the rum. And I don't know about you, but what is the first thing you think of when you think of rum?
Rum runners
or pirates?
Yes, totally.
Or something
the Caribbean.
Exactly. But either way, what you think about is rum. You think about smugglers.
Yeah.
Right? Or some sort of smuggler or pirate, or some sort of like, okay, this is not maybe on the wrong side of the law, but you're bringing things in. So rum as a magical property is stealthily bringing in abundance via non-traditional routes.
Oh, interesting.
Because like rum runners or pirates, they would get the rum, but it's bringing in things that are in an unconventional way.
I'm here for that. The inner rebel in me is here for this.
Right? And now with rum, in this case, we are in fall. So we've got transitional period of fall. Now you have the dark rum and the light rum.
Oh, so I didn't even pick up on the magical symbolism of that. But now it's like, now that you mention it, I'm like, that's beautiful.
Right? So you've got that balance, and dark rum and light rum have slightly different sweetness levels and different levels. They taste differently. They truly do. So they both bring in that balance of light and dark into the rum itself. And again, with that stealthily bringing in abundance via non-traditional routes. And brandy is something that's always been associated with warmth. Even in Victorian and Edwardian, it's like if you're cold, drink some brandy, it'll warm you up. So that has that kind of aspect of warmth, and also opens up your heart to love. So that bringing in that warmth and that love.
And you said cinnamon brandy, right?
No, just regular brandy.
Oh, just regular brandy.
Yeah, just regular brandy. And it does not have to be expensive brandy. I honestly, for most of my recipes that use brandy, I use the cheapest brandy out there. I use Christian Brothers brandy, and it's fine, because you're not using brandy in most times to drink it straight. Brandy almost always is something that goes with something else. If you're going to drink something straight that's of that type, you're going to drink with cognac, which is something slightly different, but it's on that brandy family. Okay. But for magical properties, brandy is great for adding that kick of love and warmth to anything that you are doing. And butterscotch or caramel, first thing you think of is sweetness, right? You mentioned that candiness, that sweetness aspect of it. Now, you can catch more flies with sugar or with honey than vinegar, right? Sweetness brings in attraction. So you are attracting things in with sugar, sweet words, sweet actions. Sweetness brings in things that you are wanting to have. So anything that's sugar-based or has that sweetness factor is going to naturally pull in and attract to others. And then you've got the cinnamon. You got that cinnamon stick or the half teaspoon of cinnamon, and you've got the energy and spellcrafting. Yes. And cinnamon itself it's a across the board fantastic spice to use in any kind of magic work, whether you are using it dry in jar magic, or you are using it in a potion, or even sprinkling it on your toast. If you're doing cinnamon sugar on your toast, it does have a lot of inherent awesome magical properties. But the other really cool thing about cinnamon is because of the nature of it having all those properties, it raises energy and the vibrational level on multiple planes. So it raises the and crosses all the planes of the physical, emotional, and astral planes for opening yourself up to magic. So it's really about clear cutting all those levels and just bringing it all in.
Cinnamon opinion. That's just one of my little shout out to my friend that says cinnamon opinion all the time.
Yes.
But I do love me some cinnamon. Yeah,
and
it is very magical.
It is very much. I definitely have created, I know you can't see it above my door, but I've created cinnamon sigils using cinnamon sticks and tying them together and hanging them. And I've got cinnamon stick and cinnamon magic all over the place. It's really, really great. It's a great overall and vibrational thing. And you can burn cinnamon sticks instead of sage or white sage or some of the Palo Santo if you are talking about appropriate things for cleansing space. Burn a cinnamon stick, it'll do the same kind of thing and add a nice smell.
I've never tried to burn a cinnamon stick before, but now I kind of want to. I think I've burned cinnamon or used cinnamon as an ingredient in an incense before, and I've seen it, burn on a charcoal, but I've never tried to burn a cinnamon stick.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm going to do some.
Right.
Now I'm going to know what I'm doing when I get home.
Exactly. It's again, and there you're not touching on any major traditions that could be going against closed practices and things like that, because again, it's a naturally occurring thing that's
isn't
global.
It just technically a bark?
It's tree bark. Yeah.
Tree bark.
So yeah.
Very
so
cool.
you're not infringing on any traditions specifically if you're trying to, like I said,
I love it.
White sage and Palo Santo being off limits in many magical worlds.
Correct.
But yeah, so those kinds of things. So now you've got this potion that you are focusing on harvest magic, vitality, bringing in abundance, which you want, because again, you're going into the fall. Fall leads to solstice and gifts and that celebrating of that kind of sharing of gifts and things that brings in that. You're bringing in warmth and love and attraction, and you're bringing in on so many different levels.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, so that is the Meow at the Moon cider recipe.
What is your non-spiked potion that you would recommend?
The non-spiked one that, and this one took me a little bit longer, and this was more of a recent creation, and it's a pomegranate spritzer.
Oh, how do you make that?
For those of you who are watching the YouTube, you can see me holding it here. It's super yummy. And basically it's really simple as well. And again, I made sure that this is, again, non-alcoholic. So if you are sober or if you are underage or you just want something you can drink on a regular basis and not worry about getting a little bit sloshy, you're good. And it's really, really simple. It's sparkling water. It's pomegranate juice, orange juice, and simple syrup. So that sparkling water, again, is that water base. We are emotional. We are water-filled creatures. So we have that kind of emotional vitality. So it is the base of that potion. This is your base ingredient. And the sparkling, I just like the effervescence of it. It adds a little bit more punch, a little bit more bubble, a little bit more fun having the sparkling water. Now, pomegranate juices. Now, pomegranates are highly magical. You think about, again, Persephone. Exactly. Persephone and changing transitions. It's a highly, highly magical, highly intuitive fruit. It's transitional. It brings in power.
Seeds.
It brings in energy, the seeds. And if you don't want to get a full pomegranate, if you want to get a full pomegranate, break it, put some seeds at the bottom. That's even better. I don't have the time, I'll be honest, sometimes to do a full break the pomegranate, juice it all, and then go from there. That's absolutely the best. But like we said before, there are shortcuts that you can do that are perfectly acceptable. And that first one being is you can buy straight pomegranate juice. That is just pomegranate juice. There's no other additives and fillers. It's phenomenal. It's a little bit on the pricier side, but it goes a long way.
Yeah, especially when you're using it as a mixer and not just drinking it straight, which is pretty tart.
Yes,
to drink straight, but we have for sure used it as non-alcoholic ritual drink at Samhain in honor of Persephone in the past, like as my baby pagan roots.
Yeah, Exactly. So pomegranate's easy to, again, use your own, get the juice, that's fine. Orange juice, you can find that anywhere.
Yes.
Again, you can make your own because again, oranges tend to
Yum.
come a little bit more midwinter, where oranges really get their sweetest in most
Right.
areas.
Yes.
But you can find orange juice, modern conveniences. You can find orange juice everywhere. I like the
Yeah.
Simply Orange because again, it's just that. Though by all means, if you prefer the mixes, the pine orange banana or something else, just double check the magical properties of the other two fruits, but you could absolutely use that instead. I just use straight orange juice. And oranges are again our sun energy. We talked about this in the
Mm.
fruit salad recipe. Sun
Yes.
energy, it's joy, it's life, it's that excitement that kind of comes in. So now you've got that joy and excitement. You've got that transition as you are transitioning into something else.
It's a
And
sweetness to the tart of the palm.
exactly. And if you can, as that simple syrup is again that other idea of
The
sweetening,
sugar, the sweetness.
the
Hmm.
sugar, the sweetening it up. And I use simple syrup rather than honey in here, though honey could absolutely work. It's just honey doesn't dissolve quite as well in cold water.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
right.
the only
It's kind of
reason
better
why
for
I use
warm.
that
Yeah.
simple syrup. And simple syrup is so easy to make. It's literally a cup of sugar, a cup of water. You bring it to a boil, let it simmer, boil for like 3 minutes, and then let it cool. And that is it. And you can then put it in a jar and keep in the refrigerator for like a month and a half.
Nice.
It's really so simple to do. And it just adds again that little bit of sweetness. And you can put that simple syrup in your tea if you're doing tea
Mm,
magic. Again, that syrup and that sweetness brings in attraction.
I love it.
So
That's
again,
something
you're
I will be thinking about that next time I'm adding some sugar or
mhm.
sweetness or honey or imbibing a dessert and be like, all the sweetness, oh, bring the
Exactly.
sweetness to me.
And it's so funny what the a lot of the basis of kitchen magic, at least the way that I practice, is things that you don't recognize you're doing a lot of the time
Mm-hmm.
without even understanding it. Sweeten the deal. How many phrases and things that we heard over our lives that we're
That's so
talking about
funny.
things that
Yeah,
talk about things that are actually inherent magical aspects of doing something to bring in attraction or bring in more or bring in other things. It's just become so ingrained in our lexicon that we don't even think of it as a magical practice anymore.
that's so funny. Yes, yes. I love it. I do love how like our idioms and colloq what's
Colloquialisms? I know, so,
yes.
yeah, but yes.
Um and our old wives' tales all
Hmm.
kind of have like a twist of magic to them sometimes.
Exactly. Again, superstitions and all those other kind of things, like they sometimes have a grain, like anything else. There's a grain of truth. There's a grain of something in behind where they come out into something else. And that's the aspect of to me that makes kitchen magic so much fun, is because you suddenly, once you start diving into that world, you suddenly start seeing the magic everywhere and how it's being used without people even consciously recognizing that they are doing it.
I love it. Uh it's I love that there's affirmations of, your sense of intuitiveness and
Hmm.
you know everybody has to feed themselves somehow. So it's like
Yes.
these are tools that most people have access to or
Hmm.
curiosities about. And some people make it their, hyper focused in
Hmm.
their art. And I love learning all the meaning behind, setting intentions with these kind of things. So I really appreciate you picking your kitchen witchery brains here on our podcast. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. I love this. This is the part that makes me just giddy and geeky. Um and like I said, for those of you who are listening, you probably hear my voice. But again, when you're saying this, I know that I just start glowing when I talk about this stuff because
Yay. Makes
it's
sense to your
fun and it's
brain.
fascinating and it
Yeah.
makes sense to my brain. And I just get really inspired when I talk about this and these kinds of things because they are just so incredibly fascinating to me. And it's that little aspect of it that just brings it out and makes it different. And I love being able to share that with others. So, and again, I am still learning. And that's what's
Yeah.
about all of this is I will Google search and I will look for things and find and use resources that are out there. And then I'll look at it as kind of a starting point for where does this work? Where does this work in my magic, in my magical practice? And oh, okay, no, sugar. That makes sense. So anything that's inherently sweet is going to work on that kind of path for doing something else. And it's really fascinating to me to see all of that put together. I know one of these days I'm gonna have to put all of these together into like my own grimoire or something, so I mean all of these things, but it's just writing it all down is the hard part.
Yes, yes. Well, I do love, it does make me think more about pulling in ingredients with intention.
Yes.
And, mixing things for the power of it all. Yeah, I like all of that. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us here.
Of course.
Yes, and bringing our fall twist to it.
Yes. And I have to say, we've always kind of focused on the positive, and there you could definitely spin negative potions too. That is not generally my practice. I'm not Wiccan by any means. And I don't really believe in the rule of three, but it more in the sense of the karmic aspect of it, in that I do believe that if the energy that you put out will come back to you. So if you are putting out generally negative energy, that negative energy tends to be more attracted to you. Now, by all that being said, if people do bad things, sometimes you are the consequence of someone else doing a bad thing that can come out. So I'm not against that kind of baneful magic. It's not generally something I practice, but same thing applies when we're talking about potions, bringing back then. We are talking about this transition in this fall to darkness. So that light to dark, you can easily go into that kind of way of potions, also going down a negative road. But again, anything that's super light can go super dark as well. It's really a matter of.
Makes me think of like a really cool topic would be like potion or poison.
Right.
Yeah.
And depending on the use, that would be a really fascinating one, because there are some poisons that can be medicinal, depending on what it is, or things that are great for medicinal that if overdosed on become a poison.
Very, man.
So yeah, that would be a great. I would love to find a magical expert on that. So again, if anyone listening knows of anyone, please put it in the show notes, because I would love to have that kind of discussion about when does it go from being a potion to a poison, and vice versa.
And also again, like the medical properties of plants, of magical and medical properties, and how those work together would be very interesting. Well, I love how we inspire new topics as we talk. And,
I know. I love this. Like, okay. Oh, there's one more. Got to write this down.
Take some notes. Yes. Maybe it'll inspire other people to make other suggestions of things that they would like to hear too.
Yes, please. Again, we've got a lot of ideas still going, but we would love to hear from you guys.
Well, with that said, I think it's time to wrap this up a little bit. Yes. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for listening to the Queer Witch Project. And by all means, like, comment, subscribe, share us with your people, and spread the word, and give us some feedback. Let us know what you'd want to hear.
Again, so if there's a topic you want to know more about, or an episode you'd like to suggest, you can contact us at thequeerwitchproject@gmail.com, or you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram with the handle @queerwitchproject. We upload twice a month, usually on the first and third Wednesday, but that may change depending on if it's too close to a holiday that we're going to discuss. So you maybe see a day or two early or late, depending.
Yes.
But always, we are going to upload twice a month. And remember, queerness is a key to magic.
Be yourself and love rebelliously.
Bye.
Bye.